What is going on with the affordability in real estate? Yes, that's right. You probably are all aware we do have a significant affordability crisis. It's all over the news. And I wanted to talk about an article today that I actually read from CNBC recently that talks about a few things that need to change in order for the affordability crisis to subside. So here's the article from CNBC that I really want to address. With the average 30-year fixed rate mortgage at around 8%, it's the highest since the year 2000. Home affordability is at its worst level since 1989. Kind of on some new territory here for a lot of people. The National Association of Realtors Housing Affordability Index has declined by nearly half just since 2020. And that really demonstrates the huge uptick in how unaffordable homes have become for the average American. And this is largely due in part to interest rate increases. A combination of falling interest rates, a rising income, and stable to lower home prices is needed, according to economists. Building more homes amid sluggish new inventory is also key. The median family was already $9,000 short in August of the income needed to buy the median existing home. And this is a great kind of snapshot of the affordability crisis. Recent surge in rates since has moved another 5 million US families below the qualification for a $400,000 loan, which we kind of assume to be sort of the average loan needed for the average home in the United States of America. Qualifying yearly income for a medium-priced house in 2020 was $49,680. Now it's more than $107,000, according to the National Association of Realtors. So this just really demonstrates how much more income you need for a median-priced home just since 2020. Here's a really nice graph that just kind of demonstrates the annual income needed to afford a medium-priced home in the US. And here we see the great era of the pandemic and prices just shoot up. And therefore, the income needed to purchase that medium home shoots up as well until we are here today. Of course, we're in the end of October, but the data goes to August of 2023, where it is now at $114,000. Of course, this is an important note right here. This assumes that home buyers spend no more than 30% of their income on monthly mortgage payments. This is a big key, and this has always been sort of the rule of thumb when it comes to determining how much you can afford for your mortgage. Very worrisome development for America, NAR chief economist Lawrence Yun said. I actually really like the chief economist for NAR, Lawrence Yun. Affordability depends on three big numbers, according to Yun: family income, price of the house, and the mortgage rate. And that's really, really important stuff because that's what pretty much makes up how much the house costs. With incomes rising since 2019, the bigger issue is interest rates. Contrary to popular belief, incomes actually have been rising a little bit. They haven't been rising at the pace that's needed to keep up with the housing market, but incomes are showing some improvement across the board. What metrics need to change in order to fix this mess? At the current 8% mortgage rate, mortgage payments are 38% of median income, according to Moody's Analytics chief economist Mark Zandi. Now, again, remember the target is 30%. The mortgage rate has to fall to 5.5%, or the medium-priced home has to fall by 22%, or the median income has to be increased by 28%, or of course, a combination of all three variables. What needs to change to make housing affordable again? The National Association of Realtors measures affordability through its 34-year-old Housing Affordability Index, or the HAI. The long-term average for the HAI is 138. Now keep in mind, anything over 100 means it's more affordable. All-time high was 213 in 2013, and of course that was after the housing bust in the 2008 financial crisis. Right now, that index stands out at 88.7. Anything under 100 means unaffordability. A few scenarios using NAR data help illustrate how far affordability is from the average between 1989 and 2019. And this is where this article gets really good. And these 5 bullet points really sum it up. Home prices are stable. Rates need to fall 3.55% in order to be back to the historical average. Now, there's a caveat with this that I'm going to talk about in just a moment. If home prices grow 5%, rates need to fall to 3.16%. That's not fall by 3.16%. That's fall to 3.16%. Prices stay the same, but incomes increase 5%, then rates would need to fall to 3.95%. It's kind of a combination of two things. Assuming prices stay equal, if buyers earn more income, rates don't need to fall quite as far. Mortgage rate that stays around 8% means median home prices need to fall by 35% to $265,000. And I've got news. I don't see that happening anytime soon. If rates stay at 8% and prices at current levels, income needs to increase by 63% to remain affordable on the HAI. In order to get back to the affordability that people enjoyed during the hyper low interest rates of the pandemic, it would take even more. The HAI reached a yearly average of 169.9 that year, a level few think will come back anytime soon. Downward pressure on home prices would help, but it does not look like they will decline by much. Even if home prices do decline, the trend won't be sustainable unless America builds millions of more homes. Kind of segues into the second portion of the problem, which is there's not enough new housing in America. And in fact, there hasn't been a lot of new housing in America for a long time. From about 2010 to 2020, we were below the average target for new home builds. And what has that done? That has led to an inventory problem. Even with demand hit by affordability woes, buyers who are out there have to compete for so few homes that prices have stayed close to balance. And again, this goes into the whole supply and demand issue that we're seeing. There's also a really key, interesting little part to this article, according to Mr. Duncan. Boomers are doing what they said they were going to do. They are aging in place. Another thing is that Gen X is locked into 3% mortgage rates like we've established, so they're not going to give up their home anytime soon either. There are reasons to believe more buyers could materialize. And again, this comes down to demographics. This is a huge reason why there is not going to be a housing crash. According to Mr. Duncan, the millennial generation is just moving into peak home buying years, promising to add millions of potential buyers to the market, with its biggest annual birth cohorts reaching the average first-time purchase age of 36 years around 2026. Somewhere along the way that millennials got dubbed with this idea that, they don't need to own homes, they don't want to own homes, which is just categorically false. Most millennials, if not all millennials, want to own a home. They know the importance of owning a home. They know that it brings stability, it brings wealth, and who doesn't want to take control of their own destiny and their living situation? This is going to continue adding stress to the market, and if rates do begin to decline, it's predicted that it will bring more buyers back into the market, but inevitably push prices back toward previous peaks. What's going to happen is buyers on the sideline that are waiting for rates to fall are going to be re-engaged, and millennials that enter that prime home buying age group start to look for homes. We could potentially have a huge increase in buyers, and we all know what that means. If we have a huge increase in buyers and only a small increase in inventory, prices will continue to rise. Until conditions normalize, the market will be the domain of small groups of people. Cash buyers will have an even bigger edge than normally, and Yoon says if a buyer is willing to move to the Midwest, the best deals in the country can be found in places like Louisville, Indianapolis, and Chicago, where relatively small rate cuts would push affordability near long-term national norms. Basically what they're saying here is if you can't afford a home in a market that's expensive, look at a market that's not as expensive, and not everybody can do that. However, this is a good point. If you are determined to buy a property, if you're determined to build equity, maybe you might want to look in these markets. And who says it has to be for your primary residence? It's becoming more and more common that people are actually buying income properties as their first purchase. You might want to take your money and move it to a market that it has a higher affordability according to that HAI index. And that would be markets like Louisville, Indianapolis, and Chicago. So as you can see, the affordability crisis is very, very real. We can't just ask the Fed to lower rates. We can't just all go ask our employers for 35% wage increases. We can't just ask all home sellers to discount their properties by 40%. So what's the fix? This is my personal take. My idea is to help stimulate home building in a way that makes sense. What does that mean? There's two things that you need to know about home building. Number one, it's expensive. I mean, like really, really expensive. Home builders have to invest a ton of money before they even put a shovel into the ground or roll a bulldozer onto the lot. They have to spend a lot of time, energy, and funds in the planning phase, environmental phase, and just general red tape. So the first thing I would do is cut that red tape. Somehow figure out a way to get builders to be able to work quicker. If they can work quicker, that's going to do two things. Number one, it's going to increase inventory at a faster rate. And number two, it's going to make the price of the product, the home, cheaper and increase affordability. The second way is to incentivize builders to build homes that are at or below the median price point of homes in that given area. In order for builders to make money, because again, all that red tape is super expensive, they think to themselves, well, if we build a home that we can charge more money for, i.e. a luxury home, then it makes it more worthwhile. After all, if it's going to cost you $400,000 to build a home, would you build a home that you could charge $600,000 for? Or would you build a home that you could charge $1 million for? It makes sense, right? However, if there was a way to incentivize these builders to build homes that align more with the median price point of a given area, then they would build homes that more people could afford and more people could buy. Well, how do we do that? I think the best way to do that is to give them some monetary incentives. And this could take form in a couple different ways. I think probably the easiest thing though would be some type of tax credit. If the home builder promises to build attractive homes at or below the median price point and then actually builds them at that price point and there's no bait and switch going on, then that builder should receive some economic incentive in the form of a tax cut. That tax cut will help offset some of that money that they could have made if they built a luxury home. And you might have seen this happening. You might have seen around your town a new community being built, 4 to 5 bedroom homes, and they're starting at $950,000. And you think to yourself, who can afford that? And you're absolutely right. There's a bunch of different ways that we could try to alleviate affordability, and there's a lot of different schools of thought, but this is just my take. If you want to learn more about real estate, click over here to learn about Claremont. Click over here to learn about the real estate process, and I hope to see you guys on the next video. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you soon.